morning, YouTube. It's Granny B from Fort Smith, Arkansas, and we bought up some bargains. And so let me take you through my grocery haul first, and then later I'm going to come back and show you how to can chili today. So let's get going. The first thing, some of my early videos showed you how I like to buy this produce from a place that when they start pulling their bad produce, they'll put them in a bag for $1. So when we went the other day, we went, by the way, because we knew bad weather was coming, and so we like to prepare. We're 69 and 74 years old now, so we don't like to get out in the bad weather, and we're preppers anyway. We have a prepper mindset, so we went and went shopping, and we found some bargains. So I got 3 bags of apples for $3, and that amounted to 3 pounds. So we got 9 pounds of apples. What I'm going to do with, I thought I would dry them, but I remember a video that I watched just a couple of weeks ago of one of my favorite YouTubers, Lori Brown, with Whippoorwill Holler, and she showed a new way to can apples. So I may do that. If you want to see what I do with these apples, leave me a comment below, and we'll tape it when I start doing that. I also got the jalapeno peppers for $1 a bag, and that is a pound. So $1 a pound for jalapeno peppers. We got 2 servings of salmon, $3.78 for this package, $3.78 for that package. It was $8.48 a pound, and so that's about half price at $4 a pound. We also got some round steak. It had been $5.48 a pound, but when I look at the price, it comes out to $4 a pound. So $4 a pound for round steak. Ooh, I need to tell you, anytime you can get fish on sale, you need to cook it right away. So this is going to be, I'm going to cook it all today, and then we'll have it for our lunch and supper, and then I'll make some salmon dip, Cajun salmon dip. And I did a video on it. It was one of my first videos way back. So look up my salmon dip. You'll be glad you did. It's delicious. Okay, I did go ahead and cook up the salmon. This is just pan broiled in my cast iron skillet, but doesn't it look good? And we've already sampled the taste of it, and oh, it's so good. So can't wait till lunch. Hope you have a good lunch too. Okay, I've got my Ball Blue Book canning instructions. This is from 1985. This is an old one, edition 31. But on page 63, I have chili. And I'm going to read you the recipe, and I'll also type it below. But it calls for 5 pounds of ground beef, 2 cups of chopped onions, 1 clove of minced garlic. This is obviously a mild chili. 6 cups of cooked or canned tomatoes and juice, 1/2 cup chili powder, 1½ tablespoons of salt, 1 hot red pepper, and 1 teaspoon of cumin seed. So I've got my ingredients kind of assembled here. I buy the 10-pound ground beef chub because it's usually cheaper, and I buy the 73 lean 27% fat because I don't use any lard or pork products, and so I like this fatter hamburger meat, and as I ground it up, then it renders out some fat, and then I save that fat for cooking things with. So anyway, we're going to start with that, And then one of those packages of steaks I showed you earlier was almost 2 pounds. So I've got it all chunked up over here. And then I had this little bit of fat that I cut off, and I'll just chunk that into little pieces and cook it up for treats for my little girl, Matanya. A lot of Mexican-inspired dishes benefit a lot by having some cocoa in it too. And you can buy a cocoa chili blend that anytime I make taco meat or chili or my my signature dish is carne asada, I always put a little cocoa in it, and it makes such a difference. I also know that paprika, believe it or not, cinnamon, turmeric, and cayenne will also go in your chili. So guess what? I'm putting all of that in there. Turmeric is also an anti-inflammatory, antibiotic. There's just a lot of benefits to turmeric. In fact, I had fibromyalgia for years, and I do believe that turmeric is what brought me out of it and put my fibromyalgia in remission. And so I'm going to get started with my, here's what I do to my ground beef. My 10-pound package, about the size of my hand, is 2 pounds. So I've got a little bit over 2 pounds here, so it's close to 3 pounds. 2 pounds of steak meat. These other approximately 2 pound sections will be put in Ziploc bags and put in the freezer. So the first thing I'm going to do is get started with cooking down this ground beef, and it's going to render a little bit of fat so I can brown the steak cubes, and we'll come back in a minute. Okay, I have ground the hamburger meat, and I'm going to strain the fat off. I've already opened the tomatoes, and these 2 cans, it called for 6 cups of tomatoes, and so 2 cans was 6 cups. It's already in here. Okay, I've got the fat rendered out. I'm going to put a little bit more of it in the skillet. I'm going to brown these steak cubes. Okay, the steak cubes are brown now. They cooked a little bit of water out, so I'm just going to add this whole thing into my pot of chili. And as promised, I'm going to take these scraps here and I'm going to brown them for my little girl in just a little bit more of that fat. And we'll be back in a minute. Okay, I've got most of the ingredients except the spices in here now. I am, thank you, darling. I'm browning up these little tidbits of the leftover fat on the steak, and those are going to go in a little jar, and those are treats for my baby girl every once in a while. We'll get them off of the skillet now and get this skillet off the stove. The rest of this fat is cool enough to pour into an ice cube tray now, and I freeze this beef fat in the ice cube trays, and then that way, whenever I need a little beef fat, I can just pull out an ice cube at a time, and we're good to go. Put your book or your recipe in a Ziploc bag and it'll keep it clean. So let's check. I've got the ground beef in there. I've got 1 cup of onions. Here's the other cup of onions. I don't have the garlic. It's right here. It calls for 1 clove, but I'm going to put 2 cloves in it. 6 cups of tomatoes, we got that. 1/2 cup of chili powder. And so what I have here is a 1/2 cup, but it's a 1/4 cup chili powder and a 1/4 cup of the cocoa chili blend. That's the way I like to do it. So we'll put that in now. 1½ tablespoons of salt. And I use salt and pepper, my own home blend. I just mix it up. Now, 1 hot red pepper. I have a jalapeno pepper out of my $1 bags. And when you get a produce bag of rejects they've pulled from the shelf, always go through it and get your oldest ones first. See, this one has a little bit of an indentation. We're just going to cut that off. The rest of it is good. So it calls for 1. I'm going to put 2 in. There's another bad spot. We're just going to cut it off. And the rest of it is good. I know I'm going to put 2. I may wind up putting 3. Ooh, let me go ahead and cut that off. See how bad that is? I'm going to put that in the molcajete and grind it down. I'm going to pull the seeds out because that's where so much of your heat is. If you're not used to handling jalapeno peppers, wear gloves because it will transfer a burn. And the last thing is 1 teaspoon of cumin seed. Well, sometime back I had bought a big thing like this of whole cumin seed with whole black peppercorns. And so that's what I'm going to use. There's my tablespoon. And I'm a teaspoon, 1 teaspoon, and I'm going to put it in the molcajete. You just start grinding it down until it's as fine as you want it. I've pounded and grounded this as much as I think I want to. And, oh, the smell is just wonderful. Breaking up those fresh, those whole cumin seeds and those whole black peppercorns just puts out an aroma that you can't believe.
And the jalapenos?
And the jalapenos. So we're going to put this in. Put this on the back burner. And while it's simmering down, then I am going to be getting all my canning equipment together. Oh, let's give it a taste test. Remember my taste testing rule. You use a big spoon to dip with and a little spoon to taste with. Ooh. Oh, that is so good. But I'm going to put in a shake of paprika. Here's a secret. Cinnamon. You'd be surprised what cinnamon does to your chili. So a little bit of cinnamon and just a touch of cayenne and then just a touch of turmeric because of the wonderful health benefits that turmeric brings you. Beautiful. So we're going to put that on the back burner and I'm going to get our canning equipment ready. Okay, we're back. The chili has cooked a while. I've got my jars getting warm. I've got my lids getting warm and my water in the canner is beginning to get warm. So you want to start with everything warm. One of the most important things about canning is you want to be very, very clean about everything you do. So this recipe says it does 3 quarts. So 3 quarts would be 6 pints. And that's not very much to do in a canning situation. But, you know, you start where you are, you do what you can. Okay, I've got some white vinegar here. And that's what I'm going to use to clean my jar lids off. Jar rims off. Head space is important. Because that's how your, how the canning process pushes out any extra air. And that's what we want to do is make a vacuum in these jars. So leave enough head space so that when that air escapes, it's not also pushing your product out. So 1 inch of head space in these jars is at this bottom ring. So we're going to put that in there to that bottom ring. Just do finger tight. Again, only finger tight so that it has room to let that steam come up and lift this lid enough to let the steam out. But then later the vacuum will suck that lid down. Another thing is my recipe said to skim off any fat. But as you know, I already skimmed the fat off because I wanted it for my own purposes. So this is virtually fat-free chili. Once it's cooled, you may see some of it that's come back up. Be sure you have inspected your jars to start with to make sure there's no nicks on that rim.
You are leaving enough for supper, right?
Yeah.
All donations appreciated.
Okay. Honey, would you reach in the china hutch and give me a refrigerator bowl?
Just enough?
That's enough. Thank you, dear. That would have easily filled another pint and given us enough for supper. So that this recipe would do a little more than 3 quarts. Okay. Now the rest of this vinegar I'm going to pour in the water. That just prevents deposits from getting on your jars and making your jars look milky. So we're going to put the lid on. You match up the arrow with the arrow right there.
Yeah.
I'm not as strong on my hands as I used to be. Wow. I guess neither of us are as strong in our hands as we used to be. Thank you, dear. So what you do is you let this come up to steam, and this is what you call exhausting. When the water in here starts to boil, and because it's already under pressure just with this, then it starts building up the steam, and you'll see the little spout come off. So it's exhausting now. And so you need to watch for that to be a good solid stream. It's just sputtering right now. And here's your little pop-off valve. It does show that there's pressure here because your pop-off valve is already up. This is a safety valve. If it does get too hot, it will blow this and release that pressure, therefore not causing the canner to explode. Let me look at my recipe again. This says process pints 1 hour 15 minutes and 1 hour 30 minutes for quarts. So we do have 1 quart in there, so we're going to go 1 hour 30 minutes. That's 90 minutes at 10 pounds. My little pressure thing is different than some that I've used in the past. Mine has little separate rings. This would be 5 pounds. This would be 10 pounds. So that's all I need. I'm going to set this one would make 15 pounds, and I'm going to just set it aside for now. This has started jiggling a little bit. Okay, here comes my 10-pound pressure gauge. And immediately that pops up, seals it off, so we're ready to go. We're going to set our timer for 90 minutes. Mine only goes for an hour, so when it comes off, when it rings, we will give it 30 more minutes. And I'm also going to check the clock. It's 1:25. In 1 hour, it'll be 2:25. So at 2:50. At 2:50, we'll take it off, and it'll be done. Okay, our timer has gone off. The clock is correct. I turned off the burner, and we're just waiting for this to cool down now. because this little thing is still up, that tells you that there's still too much pressure in there. You do not lift this and release pressure. It'll happen too fast. You could break your jars. You don't push this down to release that pressure.
Why?
Why? Because it needs to come down on its own, little by little. It has to be gradual. There is something you can do to make it go a little faster, and that is, if you touch this, it's very hot. At 10 pounds of pressure, I think it gets to 240 degrees in there. And boiling, of course, is 212, so that's 30 more degrees over boiling. So that's hot. But what you can do is take a wet cloth. Just take a wet cloth and put it on top, and that helps it come down a little bit. Oh, it just then dropped. Okay, that dropped. This is down. That's dropped. You can take this off now, and as you can see, there's no pressure coming. So we can open it now, but we're going to open it real slowly.
Comes open a lot easier than closing.
Okay. Thank you, sweetheart.
Okay.
Now, just ease it open from that side first. And just let it, yeah, just leave it like that for just a minute. Okay. We do have a little blowover, but that's okay. You have a place ready to put these out and place them on a good soft towel. Here comes the quart, and that's the one that had some blowout. You can see it on the jar here, but we're not going to touch that jar. You can see it's still boiling. We're not going to touch these jars for 24 hours.
Now, you can't take a drink, in other words, what you saying?
Don't drink it for 24 hours. Now that these are out, we're going to cover them with the towel just to prevent them from being bumped or getting in a draft and ruining all of your work. So we're just going to take a towel and put over it. One of my darling's t-shirts. I recycle all the time. But we're just going to put it over there. It doesn't have to be heavy. Just something so that if we open the back door and there's a breeze coming through, it won't hit them so fast that the difference in the temperature change could crack the jars. So we're going to leave this. I'm going to say that that's the end of this video. And if you have any other questions, leave them in the comments below. And otherwise, because I did deviate from the recipe, I used this as my basic recipe, but I bumped it up to make it my own. So this is Granny B's recipe. You take it and make it your own. Bye-bye.